We're going to have some fun today. My guest, I've been following her on Instagram for quite some time. She has some of the most beautiful designs I've ever seen. Her name is, excuse me, her name is Lori Dennis. You might have seen her on HGTV, Bravo, and NBC. She's here with us via Zoom from her home in Los Angeles. Thanks so much for being here, Lori. It's nice to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been great to be invited, and can't wait to chat.
Yeah, so let's dive in a bit. I've been following you for a while. I found you're one of the gems I found on Instagram, and I've used the pictures that you post for ideas in my own home. And you have a way of taking a room and making it something you rarely see. You're talented at what you do. So let's talk a little bit about your background. I know you've been at this for about 25 years, but let's talk about yourself as a designer and how we've seen you through things like HGTV.
So when I started out in design way back, I wanted to set myself apart from everyone else because, of course, Los Angeles, it's the major leagues, and there's probably tens of thousands. Anybody who you know, has a little bit of style and knows how to put an outfit together thinks that they're a designer. And while they can definitely decorate a room, there's a bit more to it than that. So I came out of UCLA with my degree and thought, okay, that's going to set me apart. And then it was, you know, on to how do I get people to pay attention to me? And so I thought TV is great. Let's go get on TV. That's a little easier said than done. So I started calling around, and I found out that the news needed little, you know, you've seen the segments on morning news shows, and it's not KTLA that's going to take you in. It's going to be like some little rinky dink out in the middle of nowhere.
So, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's 5 a.m.s where you're sitting in front of a black screen and just looking at different stations throughout the country, but there's really nobody there in the room.
So I started making my calls, and Palm Springs, which is about 2 hours away from Los Angeles, their station, I think it was NBC, said, yeah, we need a segment for Memorial Day cocktails. And I was like, I can do that. So I went out there, and Palm Springs, you may know, is one of the gay capitals of America. So I went and got like a cowboy hat with like rhinestones on it. I wanted to appeal to my audience, and it's, you know, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the studio putting on my own makeup, getting ready, making these mojitos at, you know, 4:30 in the morning, my prep station. And, you know, we did it, we made the segment. And then once I had that, I was able to take that footage and then go to a bigger station and a better station and just keep upgrading my reel, which is what you used to have back then. And then eventually, you know, send it out to some majors. And so my overnight success took like 5 years to get my HGTV
well,
show.
The funny thing is too, because getting that first show is very hard because everyone wants to see what you've done before. So, and these days, you know, I have a television show, I could send them clips from that or whatever, but they do want to see you in a setting where you're sitting with someone on television and you're comfortable and you don't get nervous and all those things. So yeah, 5 years in the making. And so then, is that how long it took for you to get to some of these bigger networks?
Definitely. And what, you know, the other thing that I did is I was in a business, I was a stockbroker before I was in the design business, and I did really well there. I'm really good at sales. And one of the things that I learned is that the riches are in the niches. So the reaches are in the niches. And so I have always been an advocate of sustainability and not wasting and really clean, organic kind of living, even way before it was like a regular thing. And I'm like this hippie business person, I guess, like this hybrid type A hippie business person. So I decided I was going to be a green designer. And that really helped also set me apart from the herd. So I knew I needed to get on TV to get my message out. Internet wasn't as prevalent. We didn't really have streaming back then. And there was no YouTube. There's like no Instagram. There was none of that. You got published in magazines and you got on TV. And so my other little
You bring up an interesting point about that. Sorry to interrupt you, but you bring up an interesting point about that, because I almost find it harder to reach people now, even though there's more people to reach, because before, say for example, when my pillow was on the set of Friends, I just called the set decorator, like called NBC, got the name of the guy, called the set, he answered the phone, and that would never happen now.
Never.
I would send an email maybe to the right address, and so would, 500 other people.
Right. The thing is, like, everybody's eyes were on Friends. That's what you watched on Thursday at 8:30 or whenever it came on. We all sat, we watched Mad About You, and then we watched Friends, and like that was how it went. Now the eyes are everywhere. So it's like, it's really hard to get focused attention now. But, back then, I'm not saying it wasn't easy, that it was easy. It was definitely hard, but once you got somewhere, your voice could be heard a little easier, than there wasn't as much noise. So that was kind of how I did it. And then I just took the same avenue in print, where I had a friend who was actually in advertising, and they had this list of like everybody's phone number and email. And I literally contacted, probably with my little email, probably like 5,000 different people, and said, hey, I'm a green designer. Here's a picture of what I did. And then they printed a story, one of the top green designers, because I was the only green designer.
Right. I'm good for you for knowing how to stand apart, but also authentically stand apart.
Authentically. I mean,
somebody who wasn't green and was trying to be green in your public life, then that wouldn't have worked so well, right?
I saw some people do that and go on stage and then flop because, they couldn't tell the story because they didn't know the story. So I never would suggest to be a fake. I think authenticity is really important in your message. And if you don't tell lies, then you don't have to remember anything. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think that some of the most successful businesses, most of them have a story, and obviously, especially this type of business that we're talking about, where it's small business or it starts that way, the story is important. I think people miss that opportunity to gather an audience or gather clients, gather customers by sharing their story. And so you were living that story, and it made sense for you to pull it into your business.
Absolutely.
Well, let's take a quick break. And I want to talk, you have a book, your second edition is out, Green Interior Design, Guide to Sustainable High Style. We'll talk about that in a little bit, and also just want to talk and show a little bit of your work throughout this episode and get into the more details about what you do, how you transform a room. We're talking with Lori Dennis. We'll be back in just a moment. We're talking with Lori Dennis today. I found her on Instagram. I've been following her for a while, and I'm hanging out on Instagram a little more these days. And when authenticity shines through, it's very obvious. And Lori is very authentic about the work she does and the green living and how she brings that through her business. You have a book called Green Interior Design. It's your second edition. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And it talks about sustainability and high style. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But first, let's just share with the audience a bit about what you do. So a client reaches out to you. You're in the Los Angeles area. It's very competitive there. You stand out because you've been doing this for a long time and you've been doing it well. What is something, if I called you up and I said, here's this room I need to transform, what are some of the things that you want to know about my taste or interests or the light, or what are the questions that you ask before you even see a room?
I think the thing that really sets us apart from other firms is that we don't have a signature style. You're never going to look at one of our projects, and other than it being very edited, clean, and architecturally appropriate, you won't know it's us. So we really want to draw out what the client wants instead of telling them what we want. We'll help them make choices in terms of what's going to actually work, and edit down so that the inside and the outside flow together, the architecture and the interior flow together. I'm actually an interior architect, so that's super important to me, and I think it doesn't feel right if it doesn't flow. So that's, I think, really what's different about the way that we approach a problem is that we're good listeners. We do a lot of listening, and that enables us to really deliver back to somebody exactly what they want, even though they don't really understand what they want until they see it.
Well, and tell us the difference, just for, I'm guessing, the difference between interior designer and an interior architect. It's about symmetry and all the things. It's not just where you place the plant, right? It's how it works in the room. more specifically, can you?
Well, a decorator would be someone who could have no experience whatsoever, no formal experience, but they just have really good taste and they know how to go to the store and buy stuff, and they just go into a room and they can just like go in their girlfriend's room and move all the stuff around, put a pillow here and put a throw here and take that out and recover this, and boom, boom, it's done. It's wonderful. It's not rocket science. I mean, you can put an outfit together, you can put a room together. An interior designer would have more probably a formal education in that they know things about codes. They know about what fabrics are going to light on fire. They know about things like rub tests that are going to last and what's appropriate in certain environments. What kind of floor is going to hold up in a wet environment versus, you know, if someone's going to crack their head, you know, those types of things. So, and an interior architect would have both of those skills. Plus they would understand about what happens with structural things, like when you remove walls, or when you actually, an interior architect could build a project from the inside out. They can do landscape, they can do pools, they can do all these things that would require construction to be into the mix. You'd still need a structural stamp from someone, but you could go with a designer, an architectural interior designer, all the way through your project. With a contractor and get it built.
Yeah, you talked about you know, how the flooring should be and what kind of traffic it's going to have. The first house that we had, that we bought, I was 8 months pregnant and spilt something on the kitchen floor and slipped and fell. Not fall far, not fall hard, but fell. And I thought, this tile is shiny, it's wet, it should be on the wall somewhere or something. And so we ripped all the tile out. I'm 8 months pregnant and did this whole project because I thought, this is not a floor for a baby to learn to walk on.
Right. Yeah. So, well, you know, thankfully they're soft. So
for sure. And they're a little lower to the ground. But to me, I thought this wasn't the right floor.
Right. Not the right floor.
So that's a good example of someone might put something in that looks good, but how functional is it?
Correct.
Exactly. So some of the, we're showing pictures of the work you do. So tell me some of the favorite kind of work you do. Is there a room that you prefer? Do you like to start in one place in the house that's the most visible to guests, the first thing you see? Or do you like the little nooks that are hiding in someone's office?
Our favorite projects to get generally turn out to be single men, because they just don't want to be bothered and they have a lot of trust. They do their research, they read reviews, they're very methodical, wealthy men about how they're going to select something that they want to spend their money on. And then once they do that, they have a lot of trust, like I said, to kind of let you go through with the project, and they don't really want to get too involved. So that's not always a single man. You could get any kind of person, but that typically is that, you know, type of a person. And I think the less involvement a client has in a project, the more they kind of let you do the magic, and you know, they make decisions on things obviously and then back off and just let it flow. Those are the best projects. You wind up really loving the people at the end. They love their space. You have a long-term relationship with those people. And this is really, when you get into working on a project with somebody, maybe over a year or 2 years of time, you become part of each other's lives. So if you can have a great relationship with people who trust you and you make them happy, it's the best. I mean, it's just the greatest.
Well, and I think about that. You've been doing this for 25 years. You must have numerous repeat clients then. I mean,
we do. And you know, those are the best people to work with, because they've worked with you before and they come back and they really trust you. And then we've had some, you know, really situations that now at this point at 3:30, I have an appointment with somebody, and I'm just going to go in. I know that they're not a good fit. And so I'm just going to go in with like some ridiculous demands, which I know they're not going to meet. So I don't have to say no to them, because I never want to turn away business, but I'm going to make the bar so high that they're going to say no, because sometimes no is the answer you need. You know?
That makes sense. That makes sense. And knowing that, because some people would take the job no matter what, right? Because they need the job or they want the job or it'll lead to the next job. But
there's always another job. I mean, I know when you're young, you get desperate because you think like, you know, oh my gosh, it is so not worth it, because I've had a few people like that who have made me just want to quit, you know, just like, I can't do this anymore. And it's not that I can't do this. I love this. This is who I am. It's like, you know, I couldn't not do this, but I can't deal with that person. So, you know, having good
And I bet you
relationships
can
with,
spot that kind of person that you that might work really well with someone else.
no, they don't work well with anyone.
But I bet you can spot that a mile away.
I can now. I've been doing this long enough. I can. So people that trust us and let us do what we need to do tend to be really happy, and so do we. So
It's really funny because so when I order something in a restaurant, I'm specific. And I don't mind being specific because I'm incredibly friendly. I show a lot of gratitude. I tip well. I'm going to pay for this meal or this drink. You know, so just let's get along here. And
right,
most of the time,
right,
completely great experience mutually. And I'll be with, say, my boyfriend in a restaurant, and he'll just chuckle every time I order. I'm like Meg Ryan in When Harry Met Sally. I
it's
am.
perfect.
But
It's
I'm,
perfect.
you know, friendly and all. And I'm the same way when I go get my haircut. I remind them, okay, I like the long in the front. And
Yeah, direction is great.
I don't expect them to remember what exactly I want every time. And they do it their way. And I'm stuck with that haircut for, you know, 6 months. So I have found that people, I work well with people who don't mind my having a point of view.
A
And that's
point of
what
view
you're
is
talking
the
about.
best
You
because
want people to be part
yeah,
of the experience, right?
yeah, the communication is key, and you know, listening to people, listening to what they want and giving them what they want is ultimately my job, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And it's so funny when we finish and they'll have people over and we'll be at a party and they'll be like, "Oh, look what she did." And I said, "I didn't do anything. I just took the check. You know, you did it." And
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, you're so modest." But it's true because, you know, it's and if people aren't so good at communicating the information, you know, pulling it out of them,
Right.
but someone like you is a dream because you
See,
just lay it out there and I just have
I'm
to follow directions.
a dream. Yeah, that makes complete sense because it makes the whole experience. I mean, I would think that I would go into something like that wanting an experience, you know, with a
Absolutely.
result that I love. And so, yeah, that would be really, I wish you lived here. But let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about your book, Green Interior Design, and give some people some tips for how to make their home more green. We're talking with Lori Dennis. We'll be back in just a moment. We're having a bunch of fun talking with Lori Dennis. She is here from Los Angeles talking about green design. We'll focus on that for this part of the show. You have a book, Green Interior Design, second edition, and it's all about having sustainable high style. So tell us, first of all, what is a guide to sustainable high style? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think everybody maybe has an idea, or a lot of people have an idea that green means it needs to be ugly or expensive and, you know, not beautiful, but they have made such strides in the industry because of the hospitality industry and the mandates that they have on being more sustainable, that things are so beautiful and durable, that you can really have things that are going to last and that are not going to off-gas chemicals and fumes into your environment, and that you're going to be really happy to live with and appreciate. And then they're also not terribly expensive like they used to be. So there's some other things about green that people don't really take into consideration, and that's like, how do these companies treat their employees? How do they manage waste and resources in their factories? So in the guide, we just give you some breakdowns on all these really basic things because it seems like it could be a little mundane or boring for people to get into that. So we make the book really fun. I wrote it with a counterpart, Courtney Porter. And so we just try to make it beautiful and fun and easy to digest. So our dream, or my dream, was 20 years ago that everything would be green. Like there would be so much choice that you wouldn't have to make this hard decision and pay up like you used to. And it's come true because we show you in the book, you can really design beautiful, affordable spaces that are going to perform for you while still having a healthy interior that's not going to negatively affect you and your body and your children or your parents or your guests. And it's not going to affect the people who are making the things or the planet. in adverse ways. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, and it's fun to read, and there's lots of pretty pictures. So
well, that you have a lot of the pretty pictures on Instagram too. One of the things that I think about when I think about green, you mentioned it a moment ago, you also are thinking about how does that company, where are their cardboard boxes going and how are they managing their workplace? And that's something to think about because those are the businesses we want to support.
correct.
No matter what we're doing, whether we're doing interior design or we're buying toilet paper, right? Those are the
Absolutely.
companies that we want to support. What's an example? So, I mean, furniture, rugs, flooring, how many of the things that you think are the big purchases that we make are now available in a way that's sustainable, green, and friendly in our home?
100%. You can go to any mass retailer today, and you can go to a Target, you can go to a West Elm, you can go, I mean, really, Walmart probably even has some product out there that is going to be sustainable, green, has some green aspect to it. Nothing's 100% green, otherwise you're going to live in a teepee out in nature and it biodegrades and nobody knew you were there, but greener and healthier. So it's really easy to buy it now. All you have to do is just, they'll let you know. They'll put a little logo up there, but there's so many corporate mandates that make these companies do these things now. Really easy. There's no teeth pulling. It's super easy to do. It's super affordable. And then also one of the things I want to mention is that the way you maintain the house is more important even than what you're buying, because if you're introducing harsh chemicals into your laundry every week and you're spraying your counters with, stuff you shouldn't be breathing in, that's the biggest. So there's a cleaning section in the book. So the things you're reintroducing into your environment once or twice every week are probably more important even than the things that you're buying. So so easy. You got Dr. Bronner's, you got Mrs. Meyer's, you got Method, you can use vinegar and lemon. I mean, there's just baking soda, so many
All
things.
those things you mentioned is what I use. And I've been using them. I was diagnosed with cancer when I was 24 years old. So I've doubled my life since cancer. I just had my 25th anniversary, and
Congratulations.
my house with clean stuff. I don't want it in my house. We have smoke here sometimes from fires. It's horrible for a lot of reasons, and I have such respect for the people who are out there fighting fires. But closing up the house is hard because you have to open your windows and you have to let your furniture breathe and open your curtains and do all those things to keep healthy air coming through your home. So I am going to dive into your tips as well, because for as green as I think I am, I know I'm not green enough. There's always room for improvement. And that's why I want to have you back again and again, because if people visit your Instagram and they look at your link tree, there's literally, yours is one of the most comprehensive, but no fluff, comprehensive opportunities to click and learn more. Like I want to talk a little bit more when I have you on again about childproofing a home in a green way. And I don't have babies anymore, but I was very conscious of that when my son was young, and that was 22 years ago. So it was harder to achieve then.
Right.
But I'm sure I'm gonna have some grandbabies. So, but I just think you have a wealth of information and you're delightful. And I'm so happy to have connected with you face to face, sort of. Sort of. Well, thanks for being here. Again, the book is Green Interior Design. It's your second edition, Guide to Sustainable High Style. Lori Dennis, Dennis, is your Instagram. And thanks again for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
My pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Okay, we'll have you back soon.